During this video segment, I will cover the Tools area within DonorTrack. So if I go to Tools, these are various tools that you can use to basically automate some of the processes that you want to use within the software. So it's kind of like some administrative things, but they're related to, like I said, tools that make processes much more efficient. The first one is the batch entry of gifts. So what this allows you to do, and you see there's lots of batch entries in here, this will allow you to take a whole host of payments for a particular campaign and appeal and enter them all in one sitting. So for instance, let's say that you have a special banquet where people leave checks in an envelope in the middle. And at the end of the night, you have a stack of checks that you want to enter in for a particular campaign and appeal. What you can do then is you could say add batch entries, and you choose your campaign and appeal. So in this case, let's say that it's the Mayan school tuition, and it was this August 30 benefit. So let's click continue. And so now what I can do is I can start selecting constituents and businesses and add them in here. So let's say in the first check that I have is from a Vanderburg, John and Johanna, and let's add them in. And what you can do is you can put in their giving info, or you could just keep adding the people. So maybe we want to add these individuals. And now I want to add in this constituent. And maybe I had a business check in here as well. So let's go ahead and find that business and add them in and so forth. And now what I can do then is I can come in here. Notice it keeps them in the order that you add them. And you can go ahead and say John and Johanna gave $250 with this check number. Notice that it automatically puts in today's date. You could override it if you want to, but I'll leave it as is. Applies to a new gift, or if there was an existing pledge. So if what this is saying is John and Johanna don't have an open pledge for this particular appeal. If they did, they could apply this payment towards a new gift or an existing pledge. There would be another option here. So let's go ahead and continue on. And notice you don't have to put in check numbers if you don't want to. It is kind of nice for reference sake in case they have questions later. And I can put those in. And again, you can add all the people and then add in the amounts, or you can do it as you go too. So if we put in Daniel Appleby, I could come down here right away, put in $200, put in the check number. I could go back up here again and choose the next person, add them in. And again, I can choose by going and clicking on this and scrolling down, or I can search by last name. So notice Zavenberg, and I don't want to go all the way to the bottom. It's kind of nice if I can just type in that name, click add, and so forth. So let's add in these last two donations. And then we can go ahead and click save or submit. And what that does now is, notice it adds us in. There are 7 entries, shows the date range of all the gifts. You could always come back to this later if you wanted to. If you wanted to edit and add in more gifts, or edit any of the existing gifts if you need to delete one out. But I could add more gifts in here if I wanted to. So let's go ahead and put in Mowers and add their gift in. And so you can add more in later as well with later dates. You can edit, like I said. You could view if you want to see the information, the summary information with all the gifts. From here, you could actually send letters or labels, create labels for these people who gave. You could download this data, and you could send out a mass email to these folks or letters to these folks and do a mail merge actually with this data. So it's really handy, this view area as well. And then you could delete this out. One note is, if you delete this out, you're not going to delete the gifts that you just entered. Let me say that again. That's important. If I delete it out, we're not going to delete this gift out of John and Johanna and this gift out of Tim Elkema. That's automatically going to be in those records. And by the way, just so you can see this, we have here that Daniel Atwood gave $200. If we want to see that, I can type in Atwood. Actually, he's right here, so I don't have to. I'll click on that. And notice that if I go to his pledges and gifts, there's that $200 gift. Next item is the letter templates. These are the letters that you can use to send out almost like a mail merge or an email merge. So add in a brand new letter. You can give that letter a name. So we'll just call this our thank you letter for end of year giving. And then I can go ahead and say dear. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in first name, and I'd like to have their last name as well. I should put a space in there. Dear first name, last name, thank you for your end of year giving of this amount and so forth. So you can put in a nice letter and so forth. Sincerely, ABC School. So you can create this letter and save it, add it in. And so now when you generate reports, and let's say that I want to do a report of all people with this attribute, I can send an email to them. Yeah, let's do an email. I can actually choose this right here, what I just created, and notice it has the information I added in. I could still edit it further if I wanted to, and I could send out that email. So it's going to say, Dear John and Johanna Vanderberg, thank you, and so forth. The next tool down is the attach constituents to attributes. If you've gone through the constituents video already, you know that there is an area called attributes where you can select various attributes for this person. So maybe they are a supporter of soccer, basketball, and baseball. They want to receive these publications, and they're on the executive board. So we'll go ahead and click Save and add those in. But if you add in a brand new attribute, it's kind of a pain to go into each constituent one by one to add them to it. So this Tools area is very handy where you can choose your attribute. So let's say that it's Fine Arts and it is band, and it shows all those constituents already in this, but this allows me to very easily find new ones and add them in. I could do that one by one if I wanted to, or what I could do is I could just do several of these. So let's choose that one. And now let's go ahead and choose this one. And let's go ahead and choose this one, and we'll save those. So what that allows me to do is it allows me to add several of those. I can't remember where they all were, but handy tool to add all these individuals very quickly, or if you want to take a bunch of people off of an attribute as well. Instead of going to those records one by one, you can click Save to take them off as well, and that removes them. And then the last tool basically does the exact same thing, but with businesses with their attribute list instead. This now concludes this video segment on the Tools area within DonorTrack.